Hey, everybody. Welcome to this call tonight. I am really excited to share with you and just give you some perspective on what is Plexus and what can it mean for your life. So I'm Kayleen Yoder. I'm an Emerald Ambassador with Plexus, and I am just so grateful for you giving up your time tonight in a busy December where there's always so many things to be done. So you deemed this call valuable for one reason or another, and I know for sure it's going to be worth your time. So I'm just going to get right to it. I'm a mama of 5. My husband is a pastor of our church. We live in Delaware. He has been pastoring for almost 10 years now. We have a very busy life. So I just wanted to share what Plexus is so that any inquiring minds, you have a little bit of an idea before I share my story with you. But Plexus is a health and happiness company. Their vision and their goal is to offer health and happiness to people. And the way that we do that is by addressing our gut health, which is where all of our happy hormones are developed and thrive. And so much of our health is lacking because of toxins that are stored in our gut or toxins in the atmosphere. And so we have products that are scientifically formulated to address 3 key health issues in our health. So gut health is one, blood sugar balance, and fighting inflammation. And I experienced depletion in all 3 of these, and that is what led me to Plexus. So I will just get straight to my story. Initially, when I heard about Plexus, I thought I was healthy, and many of you on this call might think you are too. My health appointments, my yearly checkups checked out just fine. No major issues. But behind the scenes, I was struggling with conditions like chronic constipation for years, allergies, joint pain. I wasn't sleeping good. I battled insomnia and started to have more fearful attacks. And I just kind of chalked it up to being in ministry and it just being attacked from the enemy, which that's very real. But at the same time, my health was just completely down the drain. So I just want to share with you that it is totally possible to feel good from the inside out. And Plexus for sure is for every single one of you. So if that is any at all relatable to you with some of those health issues that I had, I just want to share a little bit more with you. So we all have different bodies. We all have different stories. And so my story might not be 100% relatable to you, but there will be pieces of it that are relatable. And you know other people who might be battling similar things. So my story, I'm going to go back to when I was 34, it was a few years ago, 37 now. My husband was working as a bivocational pastor, and I was doing everything I could on the side to supplement income. We really desired our kids to be in private education. And so we just made sacrifices for that to happen. But we were constantly spinning our wheels financially, and there just was no way that we were making any progress. So I babysat, taught piano lessons, started to refinish furniture. I upgraded to refinishing kitchen cabinet jobs, doing full-on kitchen renovations that way. And that strong mama work ethic was there. I was pregnant with my 5th baby. And at that point, I was noticing after every pregnancy that my health was not bouncing back like it did previously. And my hormones were beginning to be even more imbalanced. So it was something that I knew was happening, but I didn't connect the dots at that point. So I started, we had our 5th baby And I was refinishing kitchen cabinet jobs this whole time while I was pregnant, had my baby. He was born with the umbilical cord wrapped around his neck twice. Everything turned out okay, but that was slightly traumatic. But after that, we were back in the hospital 2 days later. And then I ended up with a yeast infection. My family was home fighting full on flu. And so when we did get released from the hospital, we had to quarantine for a week. And I'm telling you, I could not emotionally cope. And that was when things just started to spiral for me. The anxiety started to rise, depression started to rise. And so from there on, that was in December of 2018. We sold our house December 2019. We closed 30 days, moved our family of 7 with a baby who had chronic ear infections, completely exhausted and at my very end. 1 month after we moved into our house, my baby broke his leg. And that was a huge tipping point where I began to feel hopeless. My husband was super stressed, starting to experience anxiety attacks, which I felt like I had to overcompensate to be strong for him. And so we were struggling, guys. It was pretty rough. And so we both got to that point where we just needed some kind of answer and resolve. My husband the church had decided that he could go on full time. So he was not being bivocational, and that was a ray of light for us. And 2 months later was when my health completely bottomed out. I did a kitchen cabinet job. It was the largest I've done. I would make about $5,000 off of this large job. I completed it, did the installation, and before I got home, my clients canceled the check. And at that point, I couldn't cope. I didn't get out of bed. My husband started cooking our meals, getting the kids ready for school. He went from being, bivocational with his job to going full-time to now being bivocational to being a full-time parent and serving our church. So during this time, it was just a season of complete bitterness and anger for where I ended up. And the depression was just so heavy. I remember sitting at our kitchen table after he would serve a meal with just tears streaming down my face because I couldn't get it together. And my kids would see me in such a place of despair and hopelessness. And I started to think it would just be far better if I was not here. It wasn't a place of suicide, but it was a place of removing myself from being seen from my family. And so I remember staying up with insomnia and not being able to fall asleep, not being able to think of any possible redemption story for my life. And so I went to a retreat for pastors' wives. Nobody knew I was experiencing any of this. I didn't share it with our church. My husband and I were about the only ones that knew it, and my kids. I went to a pastor's wives retreat, and wouldn't you know, they did a session on depression, and I had every single red flag. And this pastor's wife said, I was out for 4 years with depression. She said, when it hit me, I was done. And it was 4 years that she was out of commission, and she didn't go anywhere. And that scared the dickens out of me because I have young kids and I don't have 4 years to spare. And so it made me hungry to find answers and solutions. And the Lord reminded me of Plexus. A friend of mine had been sharing, and I just started scrolling through her Facebook page, reading every story I could possibly find. Came home, my husband said, listen, whatever we can do, we're going to do it. It was right before Christmas when I signed up, the end of October. And that was the day that just changed everything. We didn't have the extra finances. We're going into the holidays. We didn't know where this money was going to come from, but guess what? There was a discount. And so we're like, hey, what do we have to lose? Let's just go for it. So as soon as I signed up with Plexus, I had hope. I thought maybe this is my missing link. And so one weekend, I started to have energy. And when you are in your bed, hopeless, energy was like a glimpse of hope. 2 weeks in, I had less brain fog. I had more mental clarity. I was to the point where before having a conversation, I'm not remembering people's names. Like my fog was so heavy. And then the third weekend, my sugar cravings started to go away. I started to fall asleep on the couch early. Like my body was creating melatonin and I couldn't stay awake. Like it was coming into balance, coming into order. And 1 month in, this was huge for me. I laughed with my kids for the first time in a long time. And that was the moment that I knew whatever the heck this stuff is, I will never stop, right? I mean, it is giving me my life back. And it was an answer to prayer. Before my kitchen job went south, I remember driving down our street, pulling into our driveway and praying, God, you know that whatever I do, I will work really hard. And I just need an opportunity that will be worth my time. I was spending hours in our garage alone, lonely, battling depression, making beautiful pieces of art out of furniture. But I was so lonely and I was so in despair. And so that prayer I prayed before I started Plexus, and I rejoice to tell you that Plexus was that answer to prayer. And it took me going to the darkest pit that I have ever been in to come out, to have a story to share with others, to offer hope and well-being and what's possible. So when I started noticing these changes, I knew that I couldn't stay silent. If this was doing this for me, somebody else needs their life back too. And so I started sharing with a few family and friends. They jumped in, they jump-started a business, and it started to provide income for our family that was changing lives. And so my husband was adamant, you are not starting any other endeavor. I need my wife back. And I just felt such a strong urge, like this is an answer to prayer. And it was a perfect fit, serving others, offering hope, offering financial income for struggling families. I mean, it just fit so perfect. I didn't know what the future held with this opportunity. I just knew that it was helping me and I was helping others, and it was really exciting. What happened from there is I told every single person that joined my team what Plexus was doing for me, but what was available to them. And they started sharing straight out the gate, and my business grew in 8 months to the third highest rank in the company, which is a 6-figure income, which is absolutely inconceivable when you're drowning in debt and struggling. God, in his omniscience, he knew all things, and he saw the tragedy and the trauma and the struggle and the hardship this whole time. And I was to the point where I thought he had completely abandoned us. You know, it was just wave after wave, just wondering, God, do you even hear my prayers anymore? Nothing is changing. It's just getting worse. And sure enough, he had it the whole time. He had us. He knew what story he was developing and creating for his glory, but he knew exactly what my body needed. It wasn't anything else, but just I was completely depleted and I needed some balancing in my gut and my blood sugar and fighting inflammation. So guys, I want to ask you, are you hungry for change? Like what is happening in your life that the Lord can move on your behalf in? Is it financial struggle? Is it health? Is it direction? You know, God has a plan. And when we give into bitterness and we settle there, it's only delaying God's purpose. It's only delaying his plan. And when we rest in his goodness and knowing that he is faithful, he is indeed weaving together a beautiful piece of artwork with your life that is going to give him glory for years to come. It's worth it. And maybe you are in the darkest valley right now and you're wondering, is there any opportunity of hope in my life? Well, yes, there is. I'm happy to tell you that. He is good. And though we are sick, though we are depleted, Plexus is scientifically formulated to deal with gut health, blood sugar, and inflammation. And that is what has yielded incredible results in my health. So whether you're here for the products and you want to give them a try, whether you're here for the opportunity, it can absolutely 100% change your life. And I want to encourage you, it's so much more than products. When I started, I thought, I can't get excited about supplements. That's totally not my thing, you know? But when it started to change my health, it became my thing, because if I learned, then I could share. And when I can share, lives were being changed. A few months in, my mother-in-law she got her blood work done, was able to reduce her blood pressure medication, cholesterol, and her thyroid medication. She's now lost 30 pounds. And that for me solidified my belief. Like, not only was I seeing health changes for the positive, but my family members too. You know, that skepticism just started to fade. The excitement started to rise. And so I just want to encourage you, you don't even have to wait till you have your own story. We have so many testimonials of lives changed that you can share with friends and family, and you can start a business now and you can earn income that can change your life. It's hard work, but it is the most rewarding work that you could possibly do. Loving people, serving people, and getting paid for that. It's just amazing. So what could your story be? You won't know until you step into your own storybook. I know that my story is powerful. I know that my story keeps me working this business, but it's not the income that keeps me working this business. That's a blessing. It's a huge factor. But it's the text from my friends and family. I passed up dessert tonight. I didn't even want it. Or I just had my blood work done and my levels are normal. Or that phone call, my doctor just reduced my medication dosages. Or I reached a new milestone. I lost 10 more pounds. But even more so than that, people's health changing. It's those business builders that stepped out in faith and trusted me as their leader that are sending me messages like, I just paid off a credit card. I just enrolled my child in private education, or I just went shopping and bought my kids something brand new from the store that I didn't have to pick up at a yard sale this summer. Or I put new tires on my car. I was able to replace all 4 instead of 2. It's those messages that will fuel your fire even more, because Plexus opportunity allows you to dream. And dreaming was something that I would have never, ever allowed myself to do, because it was too far out of reach. It was not tangible in where I was. And I just want you to know that if you're hungry for change and you have allowed God to work through your life to bring you to this point, I encourage you to step out in faith, because your story is going to impact so many people that other people will not ever reach. And lives will be changed, and you get to experience that joy and that excitement of offering hope and impacting lives and impacting families. And it extends far beyond that. I remember being on a trip this summer. We had conference in South Carolina, and my upline, Brittany, we were taking group pictures, and we were all in this big clump of humans, and she stepped out and turned around, and her face just dropped like in awe. And it hit her, and she said, "You're all on my team." And the effects, the trickling down effects of what leadership can be and the lives that it's changing, because you're investing in people, you're investing in personal growth, you're investing in people laying hold of their potential. There is nothing more rewarding than that. And when we talk about six-figure income, I mean, that's motivating, but it's not going to keep you motivated. And I just want to close with one last thing. The enemy is avidly looking for ways to destroy you. And whether it is your health, that is one of the main things. If he can get your health, he's got you. If it's through your thoughts, he's got you. His lies, he isolates and he roars really loud, but he doesn't have you. God has you. I thought he had me in my mind. I thought I was completely defeated, pretty well hopeless, but God is faithful and he sees the bigger picture, and he had the win the entire time. He is the victor. He knew my health was depleted. He knew the answer. He led me to Plexus, and it is Plexus that was the catalyst for change in my health and our overall family's welfare. But it was God who gets the glory for that, and he knows, and he's trustworthy. So you are a masterpiece. I don't know if anyone's ever told you that, but you are a masterpiece. God has designed you specifically for this purpose, for this time, to reach souls, to reach lives that extend far beyond where you are now. Whether you live in a small town with a very small network, whether you live and you're a part of a big church, it extends far beyond any four walls. And that's what it's been for me. It has opened up doors of friendships. It's opened up personal growth, book studies with our team, no drama. I mean, it's just full of life and hope. And so when you join with whoever invited you to this call tonight, you are joining the right place at the right time with the right people. And so you have an impact that you can have on other people's lives. You just have to walk into it. You have to step into it and make that choice. I have one last song that I want to play. So I'm going to close with this, but say yes to your health. Say yes to Plexus. Say yes to impacting lives. Sign up today, because your impact is going to start tomorrow. And that's why Plexus. So I'm going to stop the recording.